Hello, welcome to the program agenda. I hope you are having a pleasant day and thank you for joining us today and thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH, where we take on all sides all the time. And of course, for those of you who follow Agenda, not just on Cignal, but as well as on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to this 22nd day of August 2022. It's a Monday and it's a bit overcast outside. Apparently, there is some sort of a weather disturbance up north, according to the BBC, which I was viewing earlier. But in any case, let's make the best out of this Monday, and let's just pray it's not a rainy day, although I love rainy days. Anyway, today, August 22, our daily starter is from Wendy Jade, and it goes: an environment that is not safe to disagree in is not an environment focused on growth. It's an environment focused on control. Okay? Now, that is something, it's very interesting to start the week with that particular thought because nowadays there's a focus on control in many places, starting from home, schools, offices, public spaces. And while it has its value, it should never be at the expense of expressing one's sentiments, one's thought, or one's contributions to a certain idea or project. Okay, especially in the offices where if you happen to be the boss, you might be a control freak. And unfortunately, most control freaks discover later than sooner, okay, much later than sooner, that they're being control freaks also control their potential, control their growth, and their profitability. Be secure with yourself and let the environment speak, okay, because that is where growth comes. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And today's headline: back to school for 27 million students. Okay, the DepEd has opened its doors for face-to-face classes. There's a big photo at the top of the front page of the Philippine Star where a public school has its own triage area that is at the Muir Woods Academy in Bayumbong, Nueva Vizcaya, where students pass through a triage area to check their temperature, check their vitals, etc., and find out if anyone in the house is sick, etc., because face-to-face classes among children can be one of the super spreaders if it is not properly conducted. Okay. At the top of the front page, Malacanang Palace, sugar shortage artificial due to hoarding. Okay, Malacanang has essentially stated that the alleged or the much feared sugar shortage is actually an artificial situation because traders have been hoarding, and the NBI and the Bureau of Customs and PNP are now inspecting different warehouses. Okay, the thing is, perhaps it's about time those people are sent to jail for economic sabotage, slapped with fines, etc. Because, you know, if an old man lands in jail for stealing a bunch of bananas, okay, early this year, I don't see any reason why President Bongbong Marcos cannot throw some of these jokers, hoarders, and economic saboteurs who they find guilty of hoarding sugar. As we say in Tagalog, sampulan mo, boss. Okay. Meanwhile, two Philippine Coast Guard men, or women ba ere? Okay, men, help lone teacher on Pag-asa Island. It has been reported that there is only one teacher on Pag-asa Island, and she needs help in handling classes. So the Philippine Coast Guard has assigned 27-year-old Ensign Jeb Latik and 24-year-old Arnel Gomora, who are licensed teachers and are assigned at their station in Kalayaan Island. Well done, Philippine Coast Guard, and that is going to be a big help for that lonely teacher out there in the bottom of Palawan. Meanwhile, that center photo that you see in the front page of the Philippine Star, that is not in India. Some mistook it to be. It is in Divisoria, where parents are trying their best to find good, cheap, affordable shoes for the opening of classes. I really have to wonder about that. Why is it that every time school year opens, it becomes mandatory to buy children new shoes? Anyway, gone are the days when you were expected to shine your shoes, put a shoe rack on your shoes or a stretcher, and keep your shoes for many years. Okay, some of us, I for one, still have shoes that are a decade old. Okay, that's what quality is about. Okay, anyway, OFWs send home more money for start of school. Apparently, there has been a 20 to 30% rise in the transfer of money from OFWs to their families here, but it is not for tuition fee. It is for school supplies, and that is helping a lot in our economy. Below that, the CBCP is calling on teachers to teach students truth in history. Okay? And meanwhile, Secretary Erwin Tulfo has clarified, okay, that 4Ps beneficiaries are not eligible for education aid because the Pangtawid Pamilya, okay, or the 4Ps program already has a education assistance in the package. Okay, so the 4Ps, Pantawid Pamilya, Pamilyang Pilipino program already incorporates educational aid and is actually for the students, for the children, and not as a family aid. So hindi na kailangan, it's no longer necessary. Just one comment here. It was mentioned the other day that the DSWD intends to cascade or to pass the educational aid to local government units in order to distribute the educational aid to students in dire need. May I just suggest DSWD Secretary Erwin Tulfo, please send it to the DepEd, because if that is what the DSWD started or did from the very beginning, they would not have had that headache that they encountered over the weekend, because the DepEd is the one handling education, schools, etc. Give it to the pros. Okay. Meanwhile, suspend NCAP for PUVs. According to LTFRB officials, they are asking the MMDA to suspend the no contact apprehension policy for public utility vehicles. Sorry, I beg to disagree, because by percentage, chances are the PUV drivers have a higher repeat performance in terms of traffic violations, and they are the primary targets. Okay, so anyway, FDA to allow commercial sale of COVID vaccines. The FDA Director General has already called on vaccine manufacturers to coordinate with the FDA and to file their applications for certificate of permit to sell those vaccines. Anyway, last but not the least, we have a photo of Viel and Balsi Aquino visiting the tombs or graves of Senator Benigno Aquino, Ninoy Aquino, former President Cory, and former President Noynoy on the 39th anniversary of Ninoy Aquino. Okay. And that's essentially the news for today on the front page of the Philippine Star. Now, for those of you who are curious, what's our topic for today? Please listen, because we will be interviewing a gentleman who is the founder of what I am told is the first cybersecurity institution or school in the Philippines. Okay, so first cybersecurity school in the Philippines, and it is something of interest and concern to many people, considering that it is said in its study that the Philippines registered a cyber danger score of 62.7 out of 100, making it the 9th least secure in the region. Okay, in Kaspersky's global ranking of most attacked countries, the Philippines climbed from the 30th spot to number 4. And we apparently have the highest concentration of scammers, tricksters, and criminals online, and bank hackers, etc., etc. So let's watch this video to introduce our only guest for today. That's how interested I am in this subject matter. Okay, let's roll the video.
Tatoo Amsil is the founder and director of Cyber School DEFCON Incorporated. Cyber School DEFCON, which was launched last July, aims to help the country's government and private sector deepen their knowledge about cybersecurity.
Okay, DEFCON is defense ready condition, and our guest for today is someone who hopefully wants to see the Philippines defense ready condition in terms of cybersecurity. Mr. Tatoo Amsil, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cito.
Okay, Tatoo, thank you for joining us today. And for starters, could you kindly give us a background on yourself? Because the name Tatoo, when I heard about it, I said, wait a minute, is this guy French? But you know, the guys who talk to me about this school are Israelis. So who and what is this guy Tatoo all about?
Okay, so yeah, actually, I'm from Israel, born in Israel, but in some point I moved to France to study when I was a young kid. So this is where the name Tatoo came, when I was very young. And then from there it continued to school, military, and then using actually this name all over will be part of my name already. I moved to the Philippines 22 years ago, on the early 2000, and with a lot of experience on the market for the telecom, different type of security project, either for government and also the private sector. So very familiar, Tito, with the local industry and market.
Okay, well, that's good to know, Tatoo, because at least I can say that I'm still making the connections. Now, another similarity I notice is between you and Shimon Peres, because Shimon Peres is Israeli who had a lot of dealings, good friends in France, and that helped develop much of the Israel defense facilities in the early 70s, or was it in the 80s? Now, in your part, were you always a cybersecurity guy, or how did this come about?
No, to be honest, I not been, all the time. I was like all Israeli, military, it's mandatory. I was dealing with a lot of technology, and in some point, technology cannot run away from cybersecurity. So technically, I be introduced to cybersecurity a few years ago and start to implement it in part of our day-to-day. And providing solution, it's one point, but then later on you need to have the manpower to support it. And this is where it comes to the gap, actually, when the local market, it's moving very, very fast on terms of technology, online industry, but the cybersecurity is not always following the same speed.
Okay, now that's very correct, because I think someone we both know, Art Samaniego, was in Israel recently, and he shared a Facebook post where he pointed out that Israeli school children, if I may call them, at the age of 15, are already dealing with cybersecurity issues and technologies. They're already doing some sort of training programs, whereas in the Philippines, people of that level are usually in their late 40s or 50s. What is your assessment of the Philippine situation?
First, I will tell you that we actually even increase now in Israel the requirement. We're starting in grade 4 for awareness program for cybersecurity, so very, very young. And we do it as a, game and easy access for education for the young kid to have actually the knowledge and to start to understand on very young age what cybersecurity mean and where are the threats. When it comes to the Philippines, we need to work a lot on the awareness, because the majority of the public need to know more about cybersecurity, but of course, in parallel, the private sector and also government. But later on, we need to increase actually the skill of the people for cybersecurity. This is why we are coming with a lot of different programs in different levels to really put it part of our day-to-day, because everyone is at risk. As you mentioned, there is a lot of scam, there is a lot of approach today, even to the simple citizen who can get hit by those scams. So awareness is very important on the first phase, but it's not enough. Later on, we need to improve the skill to train and to educate the level of cybersecurity in the industry, both for private sector and government.
Okay, if you were invited to Congress or the Senate and you were asked, Mr. Amsili, who's at fault here? Is this a situation where the institutions have failed us, or is it a situation where we have to protect ourselves? So I have to be particular. Banks didn't really start ramping up their defenses until their accounts got hacked, until their clients got robbed. And now there's also an attack or criticism against telecoms, because the industry has been subject to a lot of hackers and phishers, etc.
Yes, as mentioned, we need to be first aware of the situation to understand exactly where we are and to improve the system. We cannot stay relaxed in that part to say that, we have already a system, we have few people who understand cybersecurity, and it's okay. The problem with cybersecurity, we are at risk at all the time, anywhere. So we need to actually have a program in place, a monitoring system. I think the Secretary of DICT today is taking that very seriously. The direction of the president, of course, to move to digitalization, it's very important. But in parallel, of course, we need to have a very good program for cybersecurity for the government, but also in parallel to the private sector to make sure that both sectors are moving the same way and secure. So there is still a lot of improvement to do, and this is not only in the Philippines, it's everywhere, because there is a big shortage of cyber analysts today in the market, and this is why the education, again, is very important.
Okay, Tatoo, a few years back, people were saying, oh, you better work on your English because you can become part of the BPO. And then next thing you know, everybody, oh, that's not enough. You should become a techie. You should become very knowledgeable about computers. Then you can be a part of the, internet providers, blah, blah, blah. But where are we right now? I mean, to be honest, where are we right now, Tatoo? Is the Philippine, I read the grade, 67, was it 67% failing mark in terms of security? Are we in the hole, in the hell hole?
No, first, this is, on terms of technology, or what you mentioned right now, to study English and then to study IT and technology, I think we see that there was a big improvement in the Philippines. We was able in the 2004, 2005 to get from India a lot of call center. We moved to the Philippines and we really developed that industry, and it was a booming. Now, the problem is, when you do online business or any other type of business, during especially COVID time, we was forced to do more online. The banking system moved almost then very fast to online banking. There was a lot of e-commerce to serve us during the time, shopping, delivery, payment, etc. So to improve that industry, we are there. Definitely, Filipinos are very creative, booming on the industry, but we cannot negligate the cybersecurity in parallel. This is not something that we can go and develop an application without taking care of the security. And unfortunately, right now, the focus on security is less because of lack of knowledge again. And this is why we need to improve the skill on terms of cyber analysts and to educate those people on terms of development company. To go to a development company today and to ask for a mobile application, simple as is, we need to make sure that the developer also part the security system in place as well, and not just a simple development, because today we know that there is a risk. We're doing transaction with money, with information, and we don't want that leak to go to different end. And this is why, again, the security part become very important, but not always on the same level of increase.
In other words, most businesses are concentrating on apps, on process, on technical equipment, but those teams do not have someone who is an actual trained, educated cybersecurity individual or practitioner.
Yes. Unfortunately, one, it's because there was not really a lot of place to go and learn except going overseas or getting some training from, outside, or company will come here to do it.
On the job.
Yes. When you do it with company, it's very good, but usually the company also have some agenda, either to provide you their own solution or their own way. So here the idea is to give the knowledge, the education. Why the education? Because you will be totally independent. You will be able to analyze the problem. You will be able to analyze your situation, to choose by your own choice what you need on terms of the security. And this is what makes the knowledge very important, because you are now not depending on any third party, and you can build, secure, and maintain your system locally.
Okay, now, Tatoo, you're putting up what I was told was the first cybersecurity school in the Philippines. Now, could you please give me the proper education or introduction here? Because do we call it a school? Do we call it, is it really a school? How many years is it? Is it a seminar? Because, there's so many people that say, oh, we're putting up a school. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's technically not really a school. It's more as a program. And it's not a seminar also, because unfortunately with a seminar or a nice lecture, we don't become, a cyber analyst. But what we're doing is we have more than 15 years of experience with the program in Israel, who was able to share and improve during the year. So in Israel, again, as you know, military, it's mandatory.
Yes.
So when we get, 18 years old kid without too much knowledge, only high school credited, need to go now to the military service, and especially if some of them will go to special unit like the A200, we need to provide them the knowledge and the expertise to be released on a very fast time, but to be totally independent and to be very confident and to manage actually the work they are required to do. So we set up a program in 3 months' time. We can take people with zero knowledge, and I'm making very sure that zero knowledge, and in 3 months' time, we can release them to the industry or to the military to start to serve and to be expert in the cybersecurity. Now, when I say expert, it's because they are getting the right foundation. Of course, they will need to continue to study, they will need to improve, but the tools we will give them during these 3 months are good enough for them to join company or government and to start to serve those fields. So it's a very dedicated program with more than 100 different scenarios using simulator to give them the knowledge, but also the confidence on how to deal with the problem. We will have also 60 different type of laboratory to give them, again, experience if you're dealing with the environment as a network or cloud or different aspects. So that way we try to cover in those 3 months to build them the confidence, to think outside the box, and to give them all the tools to be totally independent. This is why we have a lot of company today working with us on the international level, like Deloitte, Airbus, Saibo, and many others. Then the moment our people are graduated, they will hire them to start to fill this missing position in the cyber industry. Just to give you an idea, Cito, today there is a lack of probably 4 to 5 million cyber analysts in the world, when 50% of that it's in Asia.
50%?
Yes.
Okay, let's go for a quick break, Tatoo. And when we return, let's do a review so that those of our viewers who are listening and may be interested either in going to school or sending their team members to your program on cybersecurity would at least be aware what are the requirements. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome to the program agenda. And just a background, we are interviewing Mr. Tatoo Amsil, and he is behind the first globally accredited cyber school launched in Manila last July 20, bringing in Israeli cybersecurity education in the Philippines. So, Tatoo, let me review this. Your company has been around for 15 years, am I correct?
In Israel, we started 15 years ago, and then we extend actually our services in the state. And then we moved to Europe 4 years ago, Singapore, and now Philippines.
Okay, and your preference for students or enrollees in your 3-month cybersecurity program are people with zero knowledge?
Yes. Actually, we have, of course, different programs. We have program for developer. We have program for different later on focus specific courses, but we have what we call the 0 to hero. It's a course of 3 months when we actually dealing with people who have zero knowledge on the cybersecurity or IT even.
And you will be exposing them to 60 different scenarios on cybersecurity attacks, correct?
Yes, actually, it's even a little bit more. It's 100 different scenarios. When we will expose them to all type of situation today we are dealing with on the day-to-day. This is very important because this is how we build the skill actually of those cyber analysts to be familiar. Like, there is the theoretical aspect of studying, but here we actually giving them also the experience to have the training and to have the exposure to different activity. So the time they will be released to their own prospective work, either for government or office, they will be familiar with all type of attack, so they will not be surprised and they will know exactly what to do.
Okay, now I'm sure you've been through this question. Please justify me sending my staff to your program. Well, give me scenarios or examples, real examples, where the money that companies invested and the people they sent actually came back to them in tenfold or saved them from losing even more than they spent on the program.
Okay, so technically, I think it's very, very simple today. As you mentioned, there is a lot of problem ongoing. There is a lot of attack to private citizen, to company, and to government. Now, if we don't have the people in place with the proper skill to protect those company or to those government or those individual, we will pay much more. We can see that there is today a lot of ransomware going to company or to government. There is a lot of scam also going to the public. This one can be covered with a lot of awareness program. But today, again, we move into a different new world when everything is more convenient to everyone to do a lot of things online. And the exposure to get hit through getting, information from you or getting money or credit card information or e-wallet, the problem is actually with us. And if we don't do anything to fix it, then we will pay much, much more than what, assuming if we will prepare a team to be dedicated to protect the company or to protect the government, the risk is higher and the cost will make higher price than sending few people and to increase the level for the company and for the country. Today, I think it's not an option anymore, but it's really a must.
Okay, now in nightmare scenarios, do you have any such stories? Because I know of people who now who have actually written to me. One particular case went viral when I about it of a online hack, or actually telephone account, a mobile account was hacked, SIM card theft, identity theft, and then it became a hack of the bank, etc. So, but in experience, what's the worst story you can recall of a company that got hit because they didn't cybersecurity investments?
Actually, on the company, the problem is, again, to make a security level to protect your database. If you're dealing especially with a lot of people and you're getting database and information about people, this is something that we need to protect. Second, of course, also transaction. We see that, sometimes they get information in advance and they ask to change some information to be able to collect the payment or to get money going directly to them as a fraud. Yeah. But worse than that, if I'm looking also on the level of government.
Yes, I meant to ask you that. At government level, I mean, in the Philippines, you've been here for, you said, about 20 years or so. What is the worst case scenario that could happen? I can think of the MMDA Operation Center being hacked and not being able to operate. That's a nightmare for Metro Manila. What else could happen?
All those utility company or a financial institute inside the government are at risk all the time, because the problem today, you have people who try to get, those access. And imagine what will happen if a company like in Israel, for example, I will use Israel as a sample, people try to hack the electricity company. You can imagine if ever somebody will succeed to shut down the electricity company for 24 hours, what will be the damage of the country on the economy? So this is part of the thinking today, that we need to make sure that everything is secure, because things like that can happen. And we need to be ready. We need to have the people who know what to do in those cases, on how to respond and how to protect. So again, This is really today part of our day-to-day, and we need to make sure that we have those people in place.
Okay, so going back to the program, it's a 3-month program. What exactly is the school called? Is it DEFCON?
It's Cyber School, cool as cool, COOL. And the idea here, cyber is quite today really cool and attractive to many people. So what we're trying to do is to influence today the young people and also the professional people to add on the curriculum the cybersecurity. As you mentioned, we have a lot of good IT people in the Philippines. We just need to add a certain level of cybersecurity with them on the DNA to be able to improve the security inside the company and inside the government offices.
How mature or capable are our IT experts in the Philippines? Because that's always been a cause for concern, that yes, we're there, but we're not mature because we're an island. We don't get as much as exposure. We are not as technologically advanced as Western countries. How mature is our market and our gene pool of cybersecurity and IT experts?
I will start first on the IT expert. I think the level is not bad at all, meaning the Filipino are really good in the IT networking. We see it again for 2004. A lot of industry grow up here in the Philippines. A lot of international company move here. And I think we are, meaning we can be proud of our IT system and technology. When it comes to cybersecurity, this is the thing that sometimes it's like in parallel with the IT people. A lot of IT people, unfortunately, feel insecure with cyber security because, one, sometimes they don't have the expertise, and they may take it as a threat, meaning if I come to the company to do some penetration test and I will be able to penetrate the company, sometimes they take it as a threat to them. It's wrong. The idea today of doing those drills and to doing those exercises It's to provide them the knowledge of the situation on where they are exactly in the company and how to improve. And this is why, again, there is a shortage on cyber knowledge right now, and we need to improve that. And this is very, very important.
Because unless somebody breaks into your house or hacks into your system and does damage, you don't really begin to appreciate the enormity of the problem. When you were talking about, the possibility of hackers sabotaging an electric airport as as one particular thing is concerned, I'm sure once that happens, the national government will be having a quick serious change of mind. But going back to your school, Tatoo, okay, so it's 3 months, 100 scenarios, and is this all online, face-to-face, etc.?
It's actually a face-to-face with, of course, access to the online, since this is, a cyber, and we have a lot of simulation. But the program, it's in the class from 8 to 5 for 3 months with a full program for our students. Now, after the 3 months, we still leave access to our simulator for 1 year to them to continue to practice and to continue to be familiar, if assuming there is new way of hacking in the market, for them to practice and to be ready in case if something like that happened to their own facility.
3 months, 8 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Correct.
And I was, for 1 second, I said, maybe I can enroll. But then when you said 8 to 5, you're going to fry my brains, Tatoo. If I have zero skill, zero knowledge, enrolling in Cyber Cool DEF CON, I might get my brains fried.
No, first, we do it the way that, it's not intensive the way that always study. There is a lot of exercise when it make it more, relax. And the approach, it's also through different aspects. But we also can't actually do the same course. Usually the 3 months, it's for fresh graduate, meaning people either who don't work and want to get an access to cybersecurity for the future, or for company who can afford to send us people for 3 months. But in case of the company, it's limited on manpower, we can do the same for 6 months, and we are doing it twice a week. But of course, the student, we need also to work from home to online to catch up and to be able to close the whole course in 6 to 7 months.
Okay. Tatoo, let's go for another very quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to be asking you specific questions regarding the program already, particularly on costs and benefits, etc. But we'll do this quick break and we'll be right back.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. A quick review of or a presentation of Cyber Cool. It's a cyber school, actually, cyber school DEFCON, which is a new program being introduced in the Philippines. Now, for those of you who are interested, allow me to read this for our guest, Mr. Tatoo Amsil, co-founder of the Cyber School. The first globally accredited cyber school launched in Manila last July 20. Their programs, number one, cybersecurity bootcamp Zero to Hero, is a turnkey accelerated training program that successfully prepares learners with little or no background in information technology for entry-level jobs in the field of security. The boot camp will train a graduate to start a career in cybersecurity with jobs such as cyber defense analyst, incidents responders, forensic cyber surgeon, network operations specialist, or cyber infrastructure support. Number two, cybersecurity awareness training. One-day live training program, remote or in person, designed to train all non-technical employees in an organization to tackle human error by providing advanced understanding and skills to protect the organization against the most common cyber threats. Being familiar with such things as how to keep accounts and credentials safe, understand how to avoid common yet dangerous threats and malicious scams. Okay, and then have exposure to all NIST 850 topics for security training. And then there is the Intro to Cybersecurity 30-hour introductory course and Fundamentals of Cyber for Executives. Okay, Tatoo, my question is, if I enroll in any of those programs as a retiree, does that mean I can have a second career?
Technically, yes, on the Zero to Hero will provide you enough skill, as you mentioned, the list of all the program we will go through, like the defense analyst, the incident response, the forensic, etc. Those are the requirement and the fundamental basis to cyber analysts to start to work, and you can be joining a SOC or different position in the company to be able to protect and to make sure that nothing will happen to your department. So technically, it's never too late, and we can join and change to different careers, especially then today we can see that the demand is so huge on terms of cyber analysts all over the world. And this is another opportunity for Filipino. First, local market need a lot of cyber analysts, but we also know that Filipino like usually also to go and work overseas. And it's an opportunity to build a layer of professional Filipino who will go and serve other international company abroad for a very decent living. So this is here two opportunity.
Yeah. That is something that many Filipinos and parents don't realize, because my daughter is now enrolled in safety and security management in the Netherlands. And a couple of her professors were actually mentioning during lectures that they should get into data and coding, because apparently while everyone is into security, there are not enough analysts and data expert or coders, etc. And they were saying, if you really want a nice, profitable profession, it is something that you should look into. So you're very correct there. Now, Tatoo, let's talk business here. Let's talk shop. What amounts are we talking about? Because as a parent, we are already well aware of college being very expensive. But when you start talking about such complicated concepts as cybersecurity, defense, ready conditions, etc., do I have to sell my blood to send a student?
No. First, before going to the price of the course, we are working right now with a lot of local HR and also international one to actually try to secure work for the people who will study with us. Now, it's a program when we actually see, again, a lack of personnel. When we go to companies who are willing to send us people to be trained for cybersecurity, but unfortunately, if they will send us those people, no one will remain in the company. So technically, the idea now is to provide them people who are fresh, graduate from our school, and they will hire them so they can have now a rollout and professional people joining the company on terms of cybersecurity, and later on start to mix with new recruits and also existing staff who can go through the system. And also we're working with them that way so we can actually secure a job to those guys who will be graduate from us. And also we're working with different institutes from a financial institute to assist the student to get some loan or to get some facility from term of payment for the course itself, if assuming also they're interested to study here in the Philippines, we still consider the cheapest in the area. If I compare the same courses in Singapore or US or Europe, the same course will cost you much, much more. We build it also for the Philippine market, for the improve the industry and to go very fast on terms of generating more cyber analysts for the market. But the course itself, if we focus technically on the 0 to hero, this is really the need we have today in the market. The 3 months course will cost you 350,000 pesos. But again, we coming with different type of financial facility for the student to get more assistance on the terms and payment for the course. And the most important is we are trying to facilitate a job before actually the person will finish the course.
So is that a contract arrangement or is that a best effort commitment?
Actually, it's both. It's depending, on the requirement, because the requirement is not only coming from us as starting with zero knowledge, but we have also, of course, some company who request a minimum of requirement, and we need, of course, to follow the requirement of the company. So we cannot guarantee that everyone fit the HR recommendation, but we actually trying our best to promote all. And to be honest, it's a question of time. When the public, when the corporate, and when the government will see the difference, getting more cyber analyst expert in the inside, it will improve and it will increase the demand. So the salary will go up, the requirement will go up, and we see it in different markets before when there was in the status of the Philippines today. So this is something that we cannot run away for it, and it's the best investment today for our next generation to go, because no matter if you want to be a lawyer, no matter if you want to be a CPA, a doctor, today everything, end of the day, will be related to cybersecurity. We're putting artificial intelligence everywhere today to improve our system. We are putting everything online. So the cyber become really part of us. And if we don't have enough people in the market to assist us and to grow, we will have a problem later on.
Well, I do realize and recognize the fact that in terms of cybersecurity and security per se, Israel is one of the top countries. Now, the question is, how among your graduates, is it common for them to, like, let's say a Singaporean or perhaps in the near future Filipino graduates will be able to get placements abroad? That's one. And second, does the zero to hero training or program equip you enough to be able to put up your standalone consultancy for cybersecurity threats in the Philippines at the least?
Okay, so first on the first question, yes, because we're working with a lot of company today, international company abroad, who actually waiting for us anytime we finish a course to hire more people, because as mentioned, there is really a gap on terms of cyber analysts. And when it comes to the zero to hero program, you will be able, and the suggestion is always to start first to work for a company, to use the skill you have, to create more experience before going to the private sector and offer your service as a consultant or expert. Yes, you will have the skill. Yes, you will be good and exposed to many types of scenario, but there is nothing better than the real experience, at least for few years, to be able to learn more. Because cyber, it's not something that we start today and then we can relax after 3 months and say, I'm an expert. We have always need to improve, to be exposed, and to continue to develop those skills to make sure that we are in the right level to protect the company or government we are working with.
Okay, well, Tatoo, obviously we can't discuss everything in 45 or 50 minutes, but I do thank you for joining us today. And I'm certain that we will be hearing more from you in the near future. But in the meantime, thank you very much for having the courage, the vision, and the concern of putting up the cybersecurity school in the Philippines. And congratulations on your efforts.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine, Cito. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, that's Mr. Tatoo Amsil, co-founder of the Cyber School, as in COOL, cool, to be in Cyber School, DEF CON Incorporated. And let's now move on to our blessing for the week. Here on agenda, it's kind of long, so let's go. As we close the program, we'll leave you with this week's blessing. I wish you enough sun to keep your attitude bright no matter how gray the day may appear. I wish you enough rain to appreciate the sun even more. I wish you enough happiness to keep your spirit alive and everlasting. I wish you enough pain so that even the smallest of joys in life may appear bigger. I wish you enough gain to satisfy your wanting. I wish you enough loss to appreciate all that you possess. I wish you enough hellos to get you through the final goodbye. And that's it for today here on Agenda. I wish that all your wishes come true. God bless you and keep praying. I'm Cito Beltran. Please keep it here on One News PH.